Now I want to be able to test, can I get it to work for more than one day in a row? And if I'm going to test this, I don't want to have to spend several days doing this, do I? I want to do this all in one shot. So what I'm going to do is add a special test button where I can manipulate some of our variables. So if I'm going to go to the designer, I'm going to add another variable down here. I'm sorry, a button. And I'm just going to write test on this. And I'll call this test button. And by pressing this button, I'm going to be able to set the value of variables. So let me go to our blocks, and I'm going to pull out when test button clicked. And what I'm going to do is set some of these variables. So like last green day. So for me, today is September 7th, 2022. So I'm going to set the last green day to September 6th, 2022. And that would mean if I do something today, I should get 2 days in a row. So let's set that to, and I'm just going to set it to those values. So the last green day will be 6. I'll set the month to 9. And this will be the year. Okay, so if I click that test button, I'll set those variables, it'll store them, I'll do my thing, and so it should then assume, okay, we're adding 1 to 1, so we'll get 2 days in a row. Well, let's see if that works. Okay, so I'm going to hit test, that's going to set those. Now if I say, okay, I ate a plant-based meal, hit submit, and I've got 2. Okay, so that part worked, I got 2 in a row. Here's the fun part. We need to somehow set the day of the month to be
the last day of the month.
So the only real way to test this well would be to actually change my system date, time, and year. So I'm gonna, since I'm running in the web preview, I would be testing this on my computer. So I'm gonna change the date. So I can do system preferences here, and I'm gonna set it to October 1st. And I'm now going to set my last day to be the 30th of September. I think this should work. Let me now do this, web preview. And I'm going to hit test. I'll click on this. And now it did, it updated it to 3 days in a row. So that part does work. And my last and final one will be system preferences. And let's go all the way to January 1st. Okay, it continues to kick me out, and so if you're trying this, it might kick you out as well every time you change the date. But I've changed my date to January 1st, and then I'm going to just make sure I'm checking with the blocks. I'm going to, 31/12/2022. So if I go back and test this, hit the test button to set those dates, I'll choose another one of these, hit submit, and it updated it to 4. Okay, so my 3 options worked. So before I do anything, I'm going to just go back and change it back to today. Okay. It's calculated the number of days in a row correctly, which is great. And now what I want to do is so the test button is really there just for testing. Once I've finished testing, I can go ahead and get rid of it. But the last thing I want to do is in screen 2 is once I've set the number of days in a row, let's do a couple of if statements to say, if you're greater than, so let's say if the number of days in a row is greater than, say, 10, we might say something like, let's go back and add another label. I'll leave it blank for now. And let's rename this motivation label. And so if I go back to my blocks, I can say set motivation label to say you are a green rock star. Keep working. And then we can just do a series of else ifs. Maybe do a couple more. So we can say so if it's greater than 10, we could do greater than 5. And then I might just do if it's greater than 1. So if it's at least 2 days in a row, you could say something like, you are on the right track. Keep being green. And then otherwise, great start. Come back tomorrow. Okay, so I think if I go ahead and test this, let me go back to my test button on screen 1. I'm just going to set it back to yesterday again. So it will be another day in a row. So I think I was at 4, so this should put me at 5. So I should get the second message. So let me go ahead and hit test, then hit submit. You are right on the right track, keep being green. I got to make that bigger, but let's just make sure. Right, so it was greater than 1, but not greater than 5. It was equal to 5, so I got the right one there. Okay, so let's go back. Let's make this a little bit bigger for my message. And then, in this case, if I set today's date as the date, I should go back to 1, so I should get that message. So let me go ahead and try that. Let's just do all 3 of these. So I haven't hit test, so it should have saved today's date as my final date. So I shouldn't get multiple days in a row. So yeah, 1. Great start, come back tomorrow. Excellent, so that worked. And then of course I go back and try to test those other scenarios, but I think we've got a good start to an app. So I think now's the time for you to figure out some cool things you could add to it. So you could add more activities, you could add different motivational messages. I'd love to hear what you can come up with for this. So happy coding, and let us know what you come up with.